See myself muted. Yeah. So the United States is preparing to officially call the military power in Niger as a coup d'état. Hello, I am Mahlet Ayele, your host at Connect Africa, bringing you the latest from Niger and the region. So, some of you may have been wondering what the United States have been calling it so far. Yes, it has been more than 2 months that the United States has refused so far to call it a coup, what is happening in Niger. Not that I support it or this platform support it for what is going on in Niger to be called a coup, but this is what its Western allies or the collective West have been, and also the mainstream media or the Western mainstream media have been calling it. But it has not been calling it a coup, and it has made also a headline why it was not called a coup. Even the BBC has made a headline why the US is not calling it a coup of the military power in Niger. Now, before I go and see this was published, meaning that the US it came out this week actually on Friday. CNN, it was first published on CNN. Why the US is preparing to officially designate the military power in Niger to call it a coup. So this was. I will share with you. This is on CNN. It was published on 6th of October. But before I go into this article and try to share and analyze why they are calling it a coup, read it through with you, and then the impacts it have, once they designate it as a coup, I would like to give you let's dig in some background, because it always helps to bring that historical background, even if it's just 2 months. It's good to connect the dot what the US have been doing so far, so that for us to take a good judgment and analysis why it is now turning to take wanted to take a U-turn and to call it a coup. Yeah, so let me remind you. I mean, we have been here at Connect Africa bringing you the report on daily basis on what's happening in Niger and the region in general. But I will go back and say some things so it helps to connect. So this is General Tihiani, who is now the military leader or the government, the president of Niger, if you wish, to say so. Now, before this thing came out, on CNN, before it was published on CNN on 6th of October, on Friday. No, that was on Thursday, right? Okay, I am not. That was Friday exactly. Today's 8th October. I'm tripping. We were given a hint actually by the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, who visited the region or in Africa, in the continent. He has made so far Angola, Kenya, and Djibouti. So in his speech in Djibouti, actually, he has hinted that the United States is officially preparing to call it a coup. So it says the Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin said in Djibouti last week that the U.S. still has essentially the same footprint in Niger as it did before the takeover. Meaning, what he means is that all the militaries are there. They have made some changes, which I'm going to touch in the next slides, but basically they are there. And has continued, so he continues and has continued conducting intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance missions for the purposes of protecting the U.S. forces still stationed there, okay? But he said the U.S. has not resumed any operations with the Nigerian forces. Now, this is BBC questioning, look, the headline, Niger coup. Why won't the US call it a coup? Okay, they give their own analysis. And we also here with Kwame Gonza, we have also analyzed why the US is not calling it a coup, and possibly there is a potential fade that is going on between France and US generally, not only in Niger but in that region. And then yeah, so first, when this revolution happened, or as the collective West calls it, the coup happened on July 26th in Niger. They did not call it a coup. So the US actually sent its Deputy Secretary of State, Victoria Nuland, to the region, to Niger. It was like a secret visit where she traveled from Libya to Niger by car, and the military administration, General Tihiani and his officials, actually refused to meet her. She also asked her to meet the ousted President Bazoum, and no one allowed her to meet. Then they came out, and the headline, look what they say, Niger coup, US envoy holds difficult talks with junta, but nobody really from the officials met this lady. Now, this is her, okay, Victoria Nuland, and we all know she's the queen of chaos in the world where the US is planning to create something. Now, we also have heard that the Niger government has refused more than $200 million or bribes that she tried to do. Now, the US also, not only they sent their Deputy Secretary of State, but also they have appointed their ambassador, a new ambassador, while all this, coup talk is going on. Ambassador Kathleen Fitzgibbon, that's her name. But she did not present her credentials to the president of Niger or to the prime minister, to any of the government. She just were appointed, and in fact she went to Niger as well. Now what came out was that in the midst of this, when the Niger government required for the French troop and French ambassador to leave the country, but whereas when it comes to the US, it didn't do so. It was totally different, and it was very soft, very normal with the US. In fact, a headline came out that the drone exercise resumed from the US military base, the AFRICOM, in the Sahel, in Niger. So like business as usual. So this is their Niger. In Niger, they have two military bases. They call it Air Base 101 and Air Base 201, the one in Niamey. And then they have also another one, this is the one in Niamey, this is the one in Agadez. So why I brought this actually is that if you remember, there was the US, the Russia state media that came out with the news revealing the US plotting a possible assassination of the military leaders of Niger. So it's right after that we heard that the military, the one from Niamey, their military base in Niamey, has repositioned itself to the one in Agadez. So this so this is, if you see on the map, this is Niamey, and then this is here Agadez. Agadez is more in the central part of Niger. It's not really a very close by, but yeah, they have repositioned, and they also announced that they will minimize they have about 1,100 soldiers there, that they are going to minimize it. So that news came out right after the Russia state media leaked the information that there's a possible plotting assassination of the military leader in Niger. Okay, so to denounce there was the deputy press secretary of Pentagon, came out right after that news was released by the Russia state media. This is what she said. We have come very close to say again that this is an attempted coup, meaning what's happening in Niger. Deputy Pentagon Press Secretary Sabrina Singh said on August 15, when asked why the US had not made the legal designation. I think, this is what she said, by all means, from State Department, from DOD, from other levels of government, we are trying to work through this in a peaceful manner. As you know, Niger is a critical partner to US in the region, or to us in the region. That's what she said. So now, why is, if this was so far, so I built up for you chronologically since July 26, since the change of government happened in Niger, what the US was up to while Niger was fighting to kick out the French military and the French ambassador. This was what was happening. They were very soft. No requirement to the U.S. military or ambassador to leave the country. But you may be wondering, it's not only it wasn't only so U.S. that has been soft, not by not calling it a coup, but and by not making a noise about it, to oust it. It was also it was action and reaction. It was also the Niger military power or administration have been very soft and kind of neutral towards the U.S. military or the U.S. presence in the region. So again, we have to question this, and probably we all agreed that why Niger is acting so towards the US. I remember all this, the chats, here the comments, and from the analysis that we gave, probably it is a strategical one what Niger is doing. Maybe they wanted to deal one by one after they finish with France. Maybe we will see something with the US. So the US, and also the impression we have got is the US and France were not kind of on the same page when it comes to Niger. So it seems that the US wanted to capitalize on the mistakes of what France has done. So they didn't want really to make noise and, blast the Niger military power like France did in every platform that they have got, from the president, to the ambassador in Niger. So now the question is why the US has suddenly decided now, after 2 months, to officially designate this as a coup d'etat. And what are the impacts, what are the consequences that are coming with it by calling it so? So for that, I think we should look at their article one by one, to go through it to get that information. And now let me read through it. So in the beginning, it says this comment, meaning the US calling it officially this and that, was given by 3 US officials who told CNN a decision which could have dramatic implications on the ability of the US to work with a crucial counterterrorism partner in the region. That's what they said. The US also, now what does this mean? What is the impact? So the CNN writes that the US will be suspending certain forms of assistance to Niger as a result of the coup designation. Now, the U.S. embassy can continue. This is what they say, meaning the U.S. embassy in Niger can continue to operate, and the U.S. military will be able to legally keep forces in Niger if a coup designation is made. So even if they call it a coup, still they will be able to keep some of their military. But let's see that if this is really what the Niger government wants. We haven't heard from them. So remember, this is only now what the US is talking. And now, unlikely that US forces withdraw. It's unlikely that the US forces withdraw completely, meaning that the 1,100 of all of them will not leave. So there will be still more limited intelligence gathering role will be there. Like practices like with life-saving and other kinds of assistance that are important for US security interests, while simultaneously suspending other assistance to the government, including economic and security assistance. So you think that, I mean, in what world is that you are kind of cutting, you're doing what you want, and designating the government basically as illegal, and you still want to do some of your interests security wise, gathering intelligence. I mean, does that make sense? I mean, let's leave it to the government of Niger what they are going to react to this. Now, CNN continues and it says, because it is a legal designation, that would require the US to restrict certain forms of foreign aid to Niger. So, yeah, why until now? Well, they know something must have gotten wrong. So the coup designation could result in US funding and support for Nigerian military being cut off, which the US military has sought to avoid. Look at them, how they paint themselves as if they're the sent one, that they have fought very hard not to cut off the budget to support the military in Niger. Wow, you are there for your own interest. Okay, it continues. It says, even as France announced last week that it was pulling all of its troops out of the country by the end of this year. The US has worked to support Nigerian forces for a decade to bolster their fight against terrorists in Africa's Sahel region, and the US has several bases inside Niger from where it conducts counterterrorism. Yeah, that is true. That's thanks to Mohamed Bazoum. It's like no man's land. They have their military everywhere. Since 2012, the Pentagon and State Department have provided Niger more than $350 million in military assistance, equipment, and training programs. Just to let you, to remind you, President General Tihiani is also he is trained by the U.S. military. Now, there has been frustration, this is what CNN says, in Congress with administration's lack of communication with the Hill. So these are in the Congress of US, they are discussing. So those people who say that they are close to the military government in Niger, they say they are frustrated by the slow communication with the government of Niger. Wow. Interesting. So now the U.S. military mission in Niger is one of the main reasons why the U.S. held off so long on legally declaring the situation military coup d'etat, instead engaging in extensive diplomacy to try to reserve the Nigerian military takeover. So officials tell CNN. But those diplomatic efforts haven't been successful and the military is still in power. That's what they tell us. Okay. At last, so the CNN says the Secretary of State could issue a waiver to reinstate the military aid once a coup is determined. But look at it, it's very very carefully written, but only if he decides that it is in the national security interest of the United States and consults with Congress first, according to the Congressional Research Service. Meaning there is some kind of negotiation. This is what I am, this is how I translate this. there's some negotiation going on between the US and the Niger government, and they are somehow, it's like 50-50. If it works out as they want it, then, even if they call it officially a coup, they can come and tell us, oh, we have resumed the aid, so nobody questions it. Then they are telling us, oh, if you really, once you say that this is a coup, then why you are continuing to aid? Then, this is the reason in advance that they are giving it. Look, the Secretary of State could issue a waiver to reinstate the military aid once a coup is determined, but only if he decides, meaning, Anthony Blinken is the Secretary of the State, if he decides that it is the national security interest of the United States, and if he consults it with the Congress first. So that's what they say. Very interesting. In any case, it's still open in the air, for the suggestions, comments, speculations, why the US now all of a sudden decided, or telling us, oh, we are preparing to officially designate this as a coup d'etat. Well, where were you until now? What? Why now? So we're gonna see what that will be, but until then, it's up in the air. It's a question mark. We can do our own analysis. And please, comment below once this stream is over, what you think, why the United States has decided now to do this. So but of course, I want to say something, as Connect Africa, there is this interest of the US, which is, they are all there, even the French, they are there to protect their business, those natural resources extracting companies, the uranium, whatever, gold, anything possible from there, gas. So now, as you know, after they blow deliberately the Nord Stream gas pipeline from Russia, meaning the US, in the name of the Ukraine-Russia war, now they are turning to get an alternative. So it's in that they have, they agreed with these three countries before the revolution happened in Niger, Nigeria, Algeria, and Niger have signed a memorandum of understanding for the Trans-Sahel gas pipeline, which runs from Nigeria from Nigeria to Niger, and then to Algeria, where then it will meet Europe and distribute for whatever they want. Their winter is coming. They are crazy. It's very heating. Price is very expensive as after the Ukraine-Russia war. So maybe there is something that Niger is refusing, maybe try to pull out, because it was few days ago Niger has banned the export of the LPG, the liquefied petroleum gas, to Nigeria itself. So there might be some change, and this is why they came out now and saying this and that. This is this is the Nord Stream pipeline that they have damaged themselves. It's crazy. So, well, what the US gonna do? Will it, after calling it a coup, then will the leader of the current leader of Niger, General Tihiyani, will meet the fate of these leaders in Africa, as they have been assassinated primarily by the US and France, like President, to start from the recent one, Gaddafi. We have Thomas Sankara, we have Patrice Lumumba, we have Amri Cabral, we have Kwame Nkrumah. I mean, the list goes on. It's more than a dozen of leaders, Pan-African leaders, that have been assassinated. Or will somehow they make an agreement? It's something time will tell, but we will bring you the latest as it happens here. We will keep you updated. So thank you very much for tuning in. That was it for today from me with regards to Niger. Thank you all really for tuning in. Yeah, thank you all for your comments. Please continue, suggest your ideas, and don't forget to subscribe, give it a like, and share the video. That will help us to grow the channel. And thank you very much, and bye bye.